Do you have any tax advice for others?
Yeah, I mean, tax rules are changing. They do change consistently, so staying on top of them is tough. And I'm to the point now where I'm gonna use a CPA to get all my taxes done. But in terms of like what I have learned, if you don't pay attention to what you can claim, then you're doing yourself a disservice because you're just spending without getting the tax credit. And one rule that changed recently was the ability to claim meals where it wasn't the same before. So knowing the tax rules is important, but that's the one thing that I've started doing that if I hadn't actually kind of paid attention, I wouldn't have known about. But who knows, that could go away in 2 years, and you got to have someone who does know to keep you in line.
Taxes are interesting. That's a whole other conversation. But I think the biggest one, which is probably fairly ubiquitous, but I'll say it anyway, is once you start having several employees, you can ask your accountant the threshold. I think it's somewhere around, if you're able to generate $30,000 for yourself as take home, whether it's your salary or your draws out of your business, I think somewhere around there is the threshold of where you want to elect an S Corp designation for your LLC. That allows you to not only take a salary, but then reduce your taxable income by that expense. So your labor expense on your books goes up, but then you reduce your taxable exposure. So you're not hit with as much small business tax in that way. So making that shift a few years back for me it saves me thousands of dollars in taxes every year. I think that's a great approach. Other than that, this probably goes without saying, but you be honest with your books. Certainly don't manipulate your books to pay less taxes in unethical or illegal methods, but there are many legal methods to reduce your tax liability that I would encourage you to do, because you fought hard to earn that money, and you should fight hard to keep as much of it as you can. I'm not an accountant. I'm not qualified to give that advice necessarily, but certainly talk with an accountant or tax professional to try to maximize that. And there's nothing wrong with doing that as long as it's in the bounds of the law. If you're a retail business and you are required to collect state sales tax, sometimes it works out with your system that's just always allocated, but do not ever fail to pay that or put it off, because you will wind up in a world of hurt very soon. The state will shut businesses down for that. So I've always made sure that when I collect that 6% sales tax for the state of Michigan, that money is not mine. Unfortunately, it is not revenue, it is tax, and it goes to the tax authority. It looks like money in your bank account, but it is not yours. So don't mess with that one. That's a very important tax tip. I've seen businesses shut down because they didn't understand that, or they thought, it's not so important. You can't mess with that.
Yeah, so we actually just filed like a week or two ago for the very first time. Obviously, it's tax season. So biggest thing is just keep your receipts, keep track of your write-offs. It's huge. That's the best part about being a business owner, I would say, is the write-offs. Definitely helps you out in that aspect. Other than that, just make sure all your ducks are in a row when it comes to taxes, I guess.
Someone that we know who does our taxes, so that was super helpful. Yeah, figure it out. It's gonna be complicated. One thing I feel like that I've learned as we're movers and business owners, I'm not an accountant. I'm not a marketing manager. Go and, reach out to people that can do that for you.
One of the big hurdles that really helped me in business early on was when I found a CPA that I could trust. For the first couple years after college, and as I was getting more involved with owning the business, didn't utilize a CPA and was shooting from the hip. But once I found a CPA that I can trust, that could guide me and understanding from a tax perspective, you're always going to pay taxes. But if you can understand and utilize the write-offs in the proper way, and that's how I was educated in understanding, well, you're going to have to pay taxes. So if we can do it the proper way and find the appropriate write-offs, well, you're going to have a less of a tax liability or burden than if you didn't know what you were doing. And so I can remember with Terry, my CPA, coaching me up right off the bat. Why aren't you paying for your gas that you're utilizing through the business and it's not coming as an expense from the business? Well, I didn't know any of that, Terry. Similar to like a home office, or for all of the meals and entertainment, taking customers and prospects out to lunch, and just my cell phone bill. Well, am I using my cell phone for business purposes? Yes, every day, all day. Well, why is that expense not being ran through the business? Because if we're paying $1 for that cell phone service, then that dollar is going to go out. And if you're paying for it as an individual, you're paying a full dollar. But if I can write off 10 cents of that dollar because it is a business expense, that dollar is now 90 cents. And so I just saved 10 cents on that dollar by being able to have a qualified business write-off. And if you multiply that times a year, times all of the other appropriate business expenses, you can significantly save money on your taxes. But you don't know what you don't know. I'm not a CPA, so you need to find those partners and those people who are smarter than you and have them help you execute.
Depending on the business you're at that you have, for me, I can speak to construction. So obviously I drive a really nice truck. You can depreciate 100% of vehicles over a certain weight rating. So for me, I get to drive a new truck every year and it's essentially free. As long as you owe that much in taxes, it's like driving free vehicles. So that's one great tax tip. Obviously, there's a million in real estate. Real estate's the easiest one, I would say. But in construction, you want to be spending money on things that can benefit your business that are more of investments. So that way, either you can give it to Uncle Sam or you can buy yourself something nice. That's what I see. They grow your business. Invest in your business and the government gives you a break.
Besides getting an accountant, some of the things that you can do on your own on a micro level, if you drive, get a mileage tracker, right? Keep track of your mileage. Sometimes the state will pay more so than what your company will reimburse you for, right? So just always keep that, kind of in the top of your head, right? Like Mike said, it's super important to get a CPA, and it's really important to get yourself a mentor in something, right? Find someone who knows, who's been in the game. Doesn't even have to be the same industry that you're in. That would definitely help, but some people keep their secrets close to the chest, right? There are a lot of transitional skills just in business. A product is a product, a service is a service. It's all about how you operate it, what's your processes behind it, your customer service, right? Those are like the main things that you need to make sure you lock down, because when it's all said and done, the sun's gonna rise and set every day. You can get a glass of Coca-Cola from any gas station. Why are they going to come to you? So you just need to figure out your niche, what you're good at, lean into that, but also reinforce what you don't know and strengthen and harden those skills as well.
Get a tax advisor. I recommend for anybody that owns a business, get a tax advisor. I think they can save you a lot of money in the end because they have the knowledge that you don't have about it.
What made you get a tax advisor?
Well, as you jump up in tax brackets, there's a lot of different things you can do. You can get S corps, you can do a lot of different things that can save you a lot of tax money in the end.
My biggest piece of tax advice would be to find the best accountant out there possible, but if that's not an option in terms of overhead cost or not being able to afford a good accountant, is truly looking up your business online and seeing what others have done. Every business is going to be different. Gym businesses will, like you're allowed to, purchase equipment and, have that towards write-off on your taxes to a certain extent. But from a standpoint of other businesses, some can't do that. So every business is different. Entrepreneur-wise, I would say truly look at the details of your business and investigate things that can help you and leverage your money. I see it so many times where people are starting a business and they don't understand what they can write off and what they can. My coaches on our staff, we do a good job when they start of saying, hey, these are the steps you need to take in terms of when you do your taxes, and these are the things that you're going to be able to write off, and educating them on that side of it, because most people don't. They just say, hey, this is my money and this is what I'm going to pay to the government, without knowing hey, I did all this training and education and I did all this, and these supplies that I purchased for this job, these are all items that I have the ability to write off against it. So, really do your due diligence and investigate things that are going to help you, keep your money. And that's huge. The government allows you a little bit of leeway, so I'll take advantage of it.